Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another video here on the SSA Philosophy channel, where we, of course, dive right on into the philosophy of characters from video games to TV shows to movies, etc., etc. So, of course, in today's video, we're gonna be going over the philosophy today over the character known as Niko Bellic. So, of course, ladies and gentlemen, as always, without any further ado, let's go on and get started in this video so far. So as always on the channel, we always love to give a little bit of a brief introduction overall to our favorite characters and whatnot. So Niko Bellic. So Niko Bellic, the gruff and morally complex protagonist of Grand Theft Auto 4. Now, he isn't, say, a typical video game hero. Now, Niko Bellic, overall, he's a far cry, pretty much like, say, from the charismatic criminals, or the flamboyant outlaws of past entries in the series. But really, Nico in this case really is a man that is haunted by a violent past. Of course, born in a war torn Eastern Europe, the specific conflict is, of course, left ambiguous. But really, Nico's formative years, were basically spent as a child soldier, wielding weapons and witnessing horrors most wouldn't really dream of. And really, this brutal upbringing, really, it shaped him into a hardened cynic, and really his worldview forever pretty much was tainted by the brutality that he experienced. So really scarred and disillusioned, Nico immigrates to pretty much immigrates to Liberty City, basically the fictionalized version of New York City and the Grand Theft Auto universe. Now, really lured by his cousin Roman. Pretty much his cousin's promises of life. Pretty much a life of luxury and easy money. Nico pretty much arrives with dreams of escaping his dark past. However, though, the reality that greets him is simply far from the glamorous picture that Roman had painted for him. Because see, Roman's life obviously is a mess, as pretty much as we already see, of course, in Grand Theft Auto 4. Especially when it comes to like him being entangled in petty debt, and criminal dealings. So really, Liberty City itself, really, it is a sprawling metropolis, but pretty much one that is brimming with corruption, violence, and a constant undercurrent of danger. So really, as Nico, as he navigates this hostile environment, really his initial hope for a better life, it really quickly wanes because Roman's desperation really it pulls Nico deeper into the city's criminal underbelly because he finds himself, working like say for really like say a cast of unsavory characters, like say from low level thugs to ruthless mob bosses. So really, despite his cynicism, a flicker of hope does remain in Nico Bellic, and really the purpose and really the biggest like say hope that remains in Nico really is driven by a singular goal. And what that goal is basically finding the man who betrayed his unit during the war. And really this quest, really for vengeance, really it becomes his anchor, propelling him forward, say, through the chaos of Liberty City. So really throughout the game, Nico grapples with his inner demons, the violence that he inflicts, it weighs heavily on him, because really it's a constant reminder of the past that he's trying to outrun. And really the narrative, really of the story in GTA 4, really it explores, really like say the psychological toll of his experiences. One that's forcing players to really like say confront the moral ambiguity of Nico's actions. Because see, he's not a hero in the traditional sense because really Nico's not a good person. Like I mean, we get the fact that Nico like he can be cold blooded, a lot of times, but think about Nico, I mean, like he's a flawed individual, one that is capable of both brutality, and compassion. And really, I think what this makes overall of Niko Bellic overall is really the complexity. Really the complexity of his character really is what makes him really overall is what makes him very compelling. Because really, as a lot of players who play GTA 4, as they all progress, through the story, really they're forced to really question Nico's choices, and really to contemplate whether redemption is truly possible, especially in a world like, say, Liberty City. So, of course, with that brief introduction already being, of course, said, we're going to go on ahead overall and focus pretty much overall the philosophy of Niko Bellic. And this is overall something that I like to call the American Dream, Liberty City Blues. And really, this is pretty much a look at Niko Bellic's, like, say, his pragmatic, pessimism. Because, see, Niko Bellic overall in this case is something that we will all describe, like, say, as someone who is, like, say, a pragmatist, someone who basically is more like, say, a realist, pretty much, a realist, a cynic and whatnot, pretty much a pessimist. So pretty much those are like, some things that we can pretty much describe, Niko Bellic as, pretty much like say throughout the game and throughout the story in Grand Theft Auto 4. So of course, let's go on ahead and really and just dive right on into this philosophy, really so we can understand it, to its, pretty much, so we can understand it at its fullest level. So of course, the first part we want to really focus into Niko Bellic's philosophy really is this part, which is warped by war. Now the thing is that Nico's past, really his past is a constant shadow. Really the brutality of the Yugoslav wars. Really it shapes his outlook because he sees violence as a necessary evil. A tool used by the powerful to manipulate the desperate. And really his iconic quotes, and this is the iconic quote overall that he says to another character known as Elena Faustin and one mention early throughout the story when he works for Mikhail Faustin, early in the game. And really, this quote, that he says, that war is pretty much like, say, is when the young and the stupid are tricked by the old and bitter into killing each other. Now, really, what this reflects, and as I said before, this really reflects, like, say, this deep cynicism within the character Niko Bellic. Because really, trust for Nico is a luxury that he can't afford, which, of course, leading pretty much was what leads him to a constant state of guardedness. So really Nico's time, really his time as a soldier, really ingrained in him a ruthless pragmatism, because he views the world as a hostile place where violence is often the only answer. And in war, you kill or you die, he says basically. And really it's a part of his philosophy, one that really bleeds into his civilian life in Liberty City. And really, when it comes like say down to like those lines between like right and wrong. Now the thing is that the atrocities that Nico committed in the war, really they have desensitized him, to violence because he really struggles to really pretty much to differentiate between necessary force and senseless killing. And really this ambiguity, really it creates a moral gray area where really Nico justifies his actions like say through a warped lens. So really uprooted from his homeland and haunted by his past. Nico grapples, like say, with a sense of alienation, because he chases the American dream, hoping for a better life, but really he finds himself trapped in a cycle of crime, and despite his and really despite his cynicism. So really the thing is that, despite Nico, so really despite him being like, a cynic, a pessimist, the thing is that, Nico, like he values loyalty. He values loyalty because he forms bonds with those who offer him a semblance of trust. But he's constantly betrayed by those that he trusts most. And really this is repeated, really this is repeated betrayal. Like this repeated betrayal really is what reinforces his cynical outlook on life. So really, Nico, like his experiences, like say with the war crimes and the brutality of regimes, really it fuels his distrust of authority because he sees government officials as, pretty much in law enforcement as say just another form of oppressive power. Because every man for himself, really when it comes to that, Nico relies only on himself, and those that he grudgingly trusts. He views like the institutions and the systems with suspicion, believing that they only serve the interests of the powerful. And also another part really you want to cover, of course, in Nico's philosophy, really is known as the dream's decay. So really lured to America by his cousin Roman's exaggerated promises, Nico encounters a twisted version of the American dream, which is Liberty City. And really Liberty City, really it is a microcosm of urban decay. One that offers wealth and power, but only through crime and exploitation. So Nico navigates this morally ambiguous world, taking jobs that go against his ideals, and really he justifies his actions as really like say as a means to an end, a chance at a better life, however he defines it. So really, when it comes to Liberty City, Liberty City for Nico, really a place where like ambition curdles into regret, and really the streets gleam with a sheen of broken promises. So really, Nico, like he arrived at Liberty City, arrived chasing a dream, a naive immigrant filled by the stories whispered in foreign ports. The dream shimmered on the American horizon, a beacon of opportunity, land of opportunity, they say. But of course, like a mirage, it warped and it distorted with every step that Nico took. And really, the city, once a glittering promise, it felt like a steel cage. Like the high life that he craved was a cruel illusion, a gaudy facade, masking a rot that ran deep. And really, the comrades that he reconnected with, once vibrant echoes of a lost youth. Really, really, they were mired in their own swamps of violence and desperation. And really, every job, every hustle felt like another brick wall, like pretty much a brick in the wall that really was building around him, a wall that shut out escape but offered no security. So really, the American dream, as it seemed, it wasn't meant for the likes of Niko Bellic, but really, it was a cruel joke reserved for those born with a silver spoon in their mouths. And really, the one thing that kept him going, the fire that flickered in the pit of his stomach, was vengeance. But even that fire was pretty much starting to sputter. The faces of his enemies began to blur, their deaths ringing hollow in the face of a growing emptiness. So really, Nico dreamt of a life, back home, simpler, perhaps even noble. But the past, like a dream long forgotten, had faded into a hazy tapestry of memory. So really, here in this city of broken angels, he was defined by the blood on his hands and the weight of his choices. Was this all there was? Was this the sum of? Pretty much. Was this like say the sum total of the life that he clawed his way to? So really, the question it really gnawed at him. Really a constant itch that no amount of violence could even scratch. So the dreams of a young Nico, filled by youthful naivety, had decayed into a bitter acceptance of harsh reality. But really, somewhere beneath those layers of cynicism and violence, it still remained a flicker of hope. A flicker of hope remained, and a hope that maybe, just maybe, that there was pretty much a way out of this labyrinth. You know, a way to redeem himself. Not from the eyes of others, but from the judgment of his own soul. Now, the path ahead was shrouded in mist. The way forward, uncertain. But one thing was clear: that the dreams may have decayed, but the will to survive that burned strong. And in the crucible of Liberty City, that might just be enough for Niko Bellic. And really, another part really about Nico's philosophy, to also cover in this really is so also like I keep saying before, like say like this glimmer of hope. So really, a glimmer of hope. So really, despite the cynicism, there are cracks in Nico's hardened exterior because he does show loyalty to a select few, like Roman and Little Jacob. And these bonds, forged in a crucible of Liberty City, really they offer a glimmer of hope, one that perhaps, is a genuine connection and, not material wealth. And really is the key really to escaping the cycle of violence, because Nico's loyalty to his cousin Roman, because despite his flaws and his ineptitude, it really reveals a glimmer of hope because Roman, a dreamer, clinging to a semblance of optimism in the face of constant adversity, pretty much represents a potential path that Nico hasn't considered. So really witnessing, Roman's unwavering faith in a better life, even amidst all these constant setbacks, could nudge Nico towards a tentative belief in a brighter future. So really, when it comes like say to Nico, like really when it comes to Nico, like his encounters, like say like like with strangers, like because Nico can encounter like say strangers, as like say as characters like Johnny and Luis and GTA, can encounter strangers in of course in Grand Theft Auto 4. So really, Liberty City's like diverse populace, it really throws Nico, really throws some curveball, you're pretty much curveballs in the form of like random encounters with different characters, like a chance like in this case like say meeting like say with a struggling artist, a down on their luck immigrant, or a weary war veteran grappling with PTSD could spark a flicker of empathy within Nico, because recognizing his own reflection in the struggles of others might inspire him to seek solace in human connection, a stark contrast to his usual isolation. And really, as Nico, as he navigates the criminal underbelly, really he encounters the individuals driven by a desire for, say, something beyond mere wealth, because respect, revenge, or a sense of belonging. Like little Jacob, for instance, he seeks to carve, like, say, his own path, like, say, within the drug trade. And even though you shouldn't obviously be clearly dealing in drugs, you shouldn't ever do that, but still. but he seeks to carve his own path, like say within the drug trade, yearning like say for a modicum of control in a chaotic world. So really, when it comes like say to observing these characters, and their motivations, really it could stir a dormant ambition within Nico, a yearning for something more meaningful than just survival. And really throughout this journey, like Nico is presented, with, numerous choices, each one a potential turning point. Whether he chooses to help a stranger in need, succumb to vengeance, or break free from the cycle of violence. And really these decisions, they really shape his narrative. Like the very act of having agency, of wielding some control over his destiny. And really it offers Nico a glimmer of hope. Because, Liberty City's darkness, really is undeniable. But even in the most desolate corners, the glimmers of hope persist. Acts of kindness, unexpected friendships, and even the resilience of the human spirit all chip away at Nico's cynicism. And really the possibility of redemption, of finding a silver of peace amidst the chaos. It really becomes a tantalizing prospect. So really, this glimmer of hope, it really doesn't erase, Nico's dark past or guarantee a happy ending. However, though, it compels him to question his nihilistic outlook on life, nudging him towards a future where blind survival isn't the only option. Whether he fully embraces this newfound hope or succumbs to the darkness, remains to be seen. But the choice, for the first time, is truly his. And also another part that really focus, of course, into this philosophy of Niko Bellic really is the search for redemption. So so really as like the story progresses, Nico grapples with his past. Like can he escape the ghosts of war? Can he find redemption in this morally bankrupt city? Now the answer remains ambiguous because really the final choice for players, to choose, really it can be whether revenge or it can be forgiveness. And really, this reflects the player's interpretation, really, of Nico's core philosophy. So, really, Nico, like his past continues to haunt him, but really through a series of events, he finds himself presented with a chance at true redemption. Now, this redemption won't come through wealth or power, but really through a selfless, well, pretty much through like a selfless act of sacrifice. Perhaps Roman gets into serious trouble, or someone close to Nico, like little Jacob, is threatened. Now, really, in this critical moment, he makes a choice that forces him to confront the brutality he's become accustomed to. And really, here are some possibilities to this. And those possibilities are pretty much the fact, on one hand, is, facing the past. So, Nico, like, he discovers the truth about the betrayal in Eastern Europe. So, he can choose, like, to enact vengeance, but ultimately realizes that this cycle of violence only perpetuates suffering. And then when it comes to protecting the innocent, now Nico encounters a situation where harming innocents is necessary for his goals. He defies his past and finds another way, even if it means sacrificing his own gain. And then when it comes to aiding a former enemy, an unlikely circumstance, it really throws Nico alongside someone who he once swore to destroy, and working together, they achieve a greater good. And Nico experiences a sense of, camaraderie, that he thought pretty much that he thought was lost. So really through this act of sacrifice, Nico really sheds, like say, the burden of his past, because he may not be able to erase his actions, but he can define himself by his own choices moving forward. And really this redemption, it isn't really like say a grand public gesture, but really a quiet acknowledgement of his own humanity. So really, ladies and gentlemen, in this case, really when it comes like say down to the themes, really the themes overall that that could be explored, really when it comes to this character of Niko Bellic, really is the cycle of violence, the price of redemption, and also finding humanity. So really, when it comes like say the cycle of violence, really in this case, can one truly escape a violent past? You know, how do good intentions get corrupted? And then when it comes like to the price of redemption, in this case, to you guys, what does it take to achieve, pretty much in this case, to achieve redemption? Is it even possible for someone like Nico? And then when it comes like to finding humanity, and despite like say the darkness, is there still a capacity for good within Niko Bellic? But of course, with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that of course is the conclusion of this video. So of course, Niko Bellic, like his story. Now, we all know for a fact it's not a feel good tale. We all know that. Because Nico is a product of a broken world. Forever marked by violence. Yet his struggle for a better life, however flawed, reveals a yearning for something more. And really, in the desolate landscape of Liberty City, Nico really embodies, like, say, the struggle between, the American dream's promise and its harsh reality. So really, Nico, like this protagonist of GTA 4, really he's a character study in complexity. Because really, Nico, he's more than just, like, say, a trigger happy ex-military thug in a sprawling open world. Because Nico embodies the harsh realities that can come with chasing the American dream. And really, when it comes to, like, say, because really, like, born in a war torn, like, say, Eastern, European country, like Yugoslavia, for instance, like Nico's formative years, were steeped in violence and loss, and really the brutality that he witnessed, possibly even participated in. And really, it left him deeply scarred with survivor's guilt and a cynicism that permeates his worldview. Because arriving in Liberty City upon his cousin Roman's invitation, he seeks, like a fresh start, a chance to escape the ghosts of his past. However, though, Liberty City's underbelly proves just as unforgiving, because Roman's promises of wealth and leisure, quickly dissolve into a tangled web of debt, petty crime, and betrayal. So really, Nico, ever the pragmatist, becomes entangled into the city's criminal underworld, hoping to earn enough to finally build a decent life. So really, throughout the game, Nico grapples, like, say, with this duality of nature, really of his nature, because he's a cold-blooded, ruthless killer when the situation demands it. Yet he still possesses a surprising capacity for empathy, especially, like, say, towards those who remind him of his lost innocence. Because really the narrative really explores his yearning for a better life, a yearning constantly sabotaged by the violence that he attracts and the darkness within him. And really his relationships with various characters, really further highlight, like, say, his complexities. Like Roman, he's like the embodiment of naive optimism, who serves as a constant reminder, like, say, of the life that Nico might have had. And as the story progresses, his pursuit of revenge against the man who betrayed, his war squad, Dargo Brevich, becomes a central motive. And really, this obsession, like, really, it fuels a bloody rampage that leaves a trail of bodies in its wake. Yet, upon confronting Brevich, a shocking revelation actually shatters Nico's perception of the past. The line between victim and perpetrator blurs, forcing him to confront the role that he played in the war's atrocities. The game really itself. So really, it offers, like, say, multiple endings. Well, only two endings for the most part. One overall that actually is, like, say, one that does, like, say, with, like, revenge ending or the deal ending, and pretty much whatever ending that you choose pretty much reflects, like, say, the endings themselves. Pretty much at the end of the game. But really, each of these endings really they reflect a different facet of Nico's, like, say, character, because in some he succumbs, like, say, to the cycle of vengeance, pretty much, perpetuating the violence that has defined his life. Others offer a glimmer of hope, suggesting a tentative step towards redemption and a life free from bloodshed. So really, Nico Bellic is a very tragic figure, one that is haunted by his past and disillusioned by the present. And really, I would say Nico in this case, I would say he embodies the dark side of the American dream, because really, he's a man forever walking in the shadows, forever searching for solace in a city that thrives on darkness. And really, his journey through Liberty City is a stark reminder that sometimes the ghosts that we chase are the ones we carry within ourselves. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, that of course is the end of this video here today, of course. And if you enjoyed this video and if you want to keep continuing to see more videos that I make on this channel, then of course do not forget to like, to comment, subscribe to the channel, and also notification bell to be notified and updated on every video that I make on the channel. Because overall, it does help a lot, to see a lot of support on the channel, and also to really help me keep, being more motivated and more, inspired to make more videos like this in the long run. And I will have more, like, say, pretty much, like, say, more like different types of videos that I'll make, very, very soon. I am planning on doing Pretty much having some more ideas, like say for what I can do with some videos on the channel altogether. But of course, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that overall does it. So I pretty much thank you all. If you stayed this long and if you watched this video for this long period of time, I want to thank you all for doing so, man. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me. But other than that, though, that's all, ladies and gentlemen. So overall, I want you all to have a great and beautiful and wonderful day. And as always remember, ladies and gentlemen, always remember to stay smooth, to stay steady. Well, matter of fact, my apologies. I screwed that up so bad, but anyways, but yes, like I say, you know, always be smooth, always be steady, and always be aggressive. Peace, ladies and gentlemen.